Today we have a review of U-Mark's Dr. Paint marker. This is a UV resistant water-based paint. It's opaque and odorless and comes in a bunch of different colors. I've got a handful here to test out today. It's suited for indoor and outdoor use, and it's suited for a bunch of different surfaces that we'll be jumping into. So this first test is just the Dr. Paint on some plain printer paper, just to see how the colors work and to see if there's any streaking whatsoever. It's a really neutral setting, but I like how the markers performed. They're a little big to use in this situation as like a paint marker that you'd use for like a piece or whatever, but overall I really liked how they performed. The colors showed true and there was minimal streaking. I will say that the caps are awfully loose on these markers. You'll notice them kind of fall off here or there throughout the video. The marker caps do not stick on very well. With the black marker, I had juiced this a few weeks ahead of time and used it here and there, and actually when I came to do this review I found out that it had dried a little bit more than I anticipated in the nib. Most paint markers do this, but this was a bit extreme with the black. I had to really juice it up and really get it flowing. It was still salvageable in that the marker wasn't broken after using it or leaving it to dry a little bit too long. Some ways to avoid this though are definitely store the paint markers with the nibs down so the gravity is naturally putting paint into the nib. Obviously it won't leak like this, but it'll help flow a little bit more paint into the nib while it's just sitting there. The streakiness is kind of a drawback in my opinion. I've now reviewed these and let my other ones sit in this situation to try and see how, how they dry out and whatnot. And it did kind of hold true. The loose caps are definitely a drawback, so I would do whatever you can to try and keep these caps on tight, and just know this going into it that the markers, if you do not take really good care of them, the nibs are going to dry out and they're going to be a pain to get going again. So each of the markers worked awesome on the paper test, and I took the white one to actually some black plastic to see how that worked, and it turned out really well. There was no streaking and the opacity was pretty on point. I really liked how that one worked, so let's test it out on some other materials. The painted surface test serves as a really smooth surface that's unporous. This is a really good chance to see how the markers perform in like a safe setting, and they killed it. Each of them worked really well. I went pretty large with each of the tags, as well as tried to mix it up and go a little bit faster, and I kid you not, I probably did 50 other tags after this video, just enjoying how crisp and smooth I was tagging on the painted surface with these. So the blue color in particular was one of my favorites to work with. It really killed it on this part of the review. I really liked how crisp it was, as well as I enjoyed tagging just as big as I could with it. I don't get it all in frame, which is unfortunate, but I do a kind of quick pan at the end so you can see what the tag looks like. I took the blue and the white actually to a darker surface to test out its opacity in like a really dark sense. I drew both on a solid black background, and you can see the blue holds up really well, and the white, there's a teeny bit of black showing through. The white's pretty solid, but you can see that the opacity isn't quite perfect. Overall on the painted surface, all the markers performed amazing. Now let's jump to the cardboard test. So you can see with the cardboard test, the opacity is really put to the test. It's a nice porous surface where it's really going to soak the colors in, if anything at all. So the colors do hold up well. There is minimal streaking. You can see a little bit on the green towards the end of the tag as I'm moving a little bit quicker, and as it's kind of dried out throughout the tag. You can see a bit of streaking on the E, but overall the markers were pretty true. There was not much streaking, and the colors held up pretty well as well. The opacity was, I guess, B+ range. It wasn't perfect, but it is cardboard and it is going to soak in quite a bit. Now onto the wood, it does set in a little bit more and it is a really dry surface. It kind of resembles a lot like the cardboard. It was just an additional test I thought I'd throw in here, but overall it's still, you can see the colors and they work pretty well. So So after working with these markers for the past few weeks, I've got my opinion straight about how I really feel about the whole cap issue and the paint inside. So first of all, the paint inside is killer, and as you can see, I got a ton of great tags out of it on a bunch of different surfaces. So by all means, that paint is killer and I really like how it works. But having to babysit the caps and the marker itself before each use and juicing it and making sure that it's not going to dry out in between use is kind of a big drawback in my opinion. It's really going to knock it down to about a 6-7 out of 10, and I just hope that Umark can take care of this, and hopefully that it's a quick fix for them, because the paint's on point and it's too bad that I have to kind of work with them and really, you know, work on the marker each time I'm going into using it to ensure that it's not going to dry out and it's not going to cause further issues, maybe, you know, seizing the marker useless after all. So if you're good about caring for your markers, I'd really suggest trying these out. You can pick them up from 33rd with my coupon code. It'll be down in the description, as well as a link to head right over there. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comment section down below. And be sure to check out the other reviews I've been doing for Umark. I've got one on some other paint markers they sent me, some industrial and some smaller ones, as well as a paint stick review. So be sure to check those out. They'll be linked on screen right now. And that's really going to do it for me, guys. Peace.